Hi class, welcome back. In this mini lecture, we're talking about theories of motivation.
Alright, so next up we have motivation, which is the process by which activities are started, directed, and continued. And this is done in order to meet psychological or physical needs. So motivation propels us into specific directions. Our psychological and physical motivation may move us towards something or away from something. So for example, you're watching a movie on your couch, it's a really engaging movie, and then suddenly you're thirsty. That physical need for something to drink may cause you to get up and move away from the movie and towards the kitchen to get a drink. And there are two main types of motivators. We have extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. So extrinsic motivation, think outside, extra, outside the person. So extrinsic motivation is motivation that comes from outside of the person. So the person performing an action because it leads to an outcome that's separate from the person. So for example, you may be motivated to study for an exam in order to get a good grade. And good grades are outside of the person. Or you're a bartender and you get good service in order to get a good tip. And so that good tip, the motivation is coming from something outside of the person. The good tip is outside of the person. Intrinsic motivation, on the other hand, is motivation that comes from inside the person. Intrinsic, inside the person. So the person performs an action because the act itself is fun or rewarding, maybe it's challenging or satisfying in some sort of internal way. So you're reading a book because you think it's fun, or you do a crossword puzzle because you think it's challenging and you like being challenged. Now, a lot of times when I mention Freud, people laugh and they think he's a little crazy. However, Freud was actually right in that the two most powerful motivators are food and sex. One of the most influential motivational concepts in psychology is the drive reduction theory. So according to this theory, our motivation comes from the need to reduce our drives. We're motivated to reduce our drives. So let's start from the top here. We all have needs. Needs are biological disturbances. So you need to drink water. You need to eat food. And needs lead to drives. Drives are psychological states. So for example, hunger, which is the response to your need to drink, to eat something. Another drive is thirst, which is derived from the need to drink water. So your drives, like hunger and thirst, are psychological states. And these drives provide motivation to satisfy the need. So basically, you're going to engage in some sort of behavior to satisfy the need and reduce the drive. When you engage in this sort of behavior that does indeed satisfy the need and reduce the drive, this restores our homeostasis. So remember, homeostasis is our body's tendency to maintain an equilibrium. But after a while, you're going to deviate from the homeostasis. Your equilibrium is going to become unbalanced. And once your equilibrium is unbalanced, you once again have a biological need. Then remember that biological need leads to the drive, which is going to lead to a behavior. That behavior is going to restore equilibrium. After some time again, you're going to experience an unbalance in your equilibrium. And it goes around and around and around. So, for example, you have a need to drink water. And you are walking in the desert. And there's nothing in sight because you're in a desert. And your need to drink water will eventually lead you to feel thirsty. That's your drive. So you're feeling really thirsty, and then suddenly you become motivated to run. You're really, really wiped out, but you're still motivated to run. You're going to run to try to find a place where you're going to be able to buy yourself a drink that's going to satisfy your need for drinking something and reduce your thirst. Your equilibrium is going to be restored, and then eventually you're going to get thirsty again. Humans and other animals are also motivated to do things that don't appear to reduce stress. So, for example, skydiving cannot be explained by the drive reduction theory. Watching a scary movie, going to a haunted house, drive reduction can't explain these desires. So why do we do such things? Well, we have arousal, psychological arousal. So arousal is a general level of activation. It's basically your feeling of being alert and engaged. And according to the arousal theory, we have to maintain an ideal level of arousal. So someone might be motivated to go skydiving because they need to increase their psychological arousal. Someone might be motivated to take me time after a busy week, and this is to decrease psychological arousal. So everyone has an ideal level of arousal. So again, according to arousal theory, we are motivated to do different things in order to maintain our ideal levels of arousal. And according to the Yerkes-Dodson law, people typically perform best and also feel best when arousal is moderate. So we don't want arousal to be too high or too low. We want it to be moderate. So I ask you, is this extrinsic or intrinsic motivation? Is arousal outside of the body or inside of the body? So it's actually intrinsic motivation because arousal comes from inside of the body. So you're motivated by something inside of the body according to arousal theory. Incentive theory, on the other hand, focuses on external stimuli. So our motivation comes from things that are external to us. So extrinsic motivation. And this external stimuli has some sort of rewarding properties. And this is why it motivates us. However, we're only going to be motivated by something external to us if it's actually available and also if we believe it to be valuable. So offering something to a person that isn't actually available is not going to motivate them. So I can tell you that if you score a perfect score in your next exam, I'll give you all of the money in the world, but that is not actually available. And so you're probably not going to be motivated by that. And also the value of the incentive is going to vary according to different people, or even according to the current state that you're in. So if you just went to an all-you-can-eat buffet and then I offered you cupcakes, you're full, you're not hungry, so you're probably not going to see much value in those cupcakes. But if you're really, really hungry, if you haven't eaten all day and I offer you cupcakes, this might be very valuable to you. So we have physiological, cognitive, and social incentives according to the incentive theory. Physiological, remember that's biology. So an example of a physiological incentive could be something like food. So you get cupcakes for answering a question correctly. Cognitive incentive, thinking, beliefs, attitudes. So a cognitive incentive could be believing that you could beat the odds and win the lottery and get a lot of money. So you play the lottery because of your belief that you can win. And a social incentive, on the other hand, is that your incentive comes from the social setting. So for example, you're wearing the latest fashion trend because you're told it's the cool thing to do. Maslow said that our needs as humans have a hierarchy and that we must satisfy our needs at least partially before moving on to higher levels. So according to Maslow, first we have to fulfill our lower level needs, the physiological needs, before we can move up. So you won't be, according to Maslow, you won't be able to fulfill your safety needs until your physiological needs are met. You won't be able to meet your belonging needs until both your physiological and safety needs have been met. You won't be able to meet your esteem needs until your physiological, safety, and belonging needs have been met. And finally, you cannot reach self-actualization unless your physiological, safety, belonging, and esteem needs have been met. So we're working from the bottom up here. So your physiological needs, those are the basic survival needs. So food and water, for example. Safety could be things like monetary security, so feeling like you have enough money, and physical safety. Going up, we have belonging needs, so belonging and love. And this is the need to be part of a group, to have friends, to be in a relationship with someone. Moving up, we have esteem needs. So esteem is the need to be respected. So respect from yourself, but also respect from others. And at the very, very top of the hierarchy of needs, we have self-actualization. And this is reaching one's full potential. So most people don't reach self-actualization. Most people do not even approach full actualization. And while Maslow's hierarchy of needs is not as influential as it once was, it is still important. So critics do say that this is far too simplistic. People can seek to satisfy multiple needs at once, or the order of the needs may vary. However, this hierarchy of needs still is very important.
Okay, as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.